At Part Select, we not only sell parts, we provide tools for success at every stage of the repair. To visit our website and get expert help from our technicians, click on the link in the description below. Hey, it's Steve. Today we'd like to help you diagnose a no ice condition with your refrigerator. Now, the very first thing we should look at is to open up the freezer and just verify that you don't have the ice maker shut off. If you have a dispenser model, you'll need to remove the ice bin and locate the shut-off lever or switch on your ice maker and make sure it is in the on position. Now, if the bail arm was in the on position or your switch was in the on position, our next procedure will be to verify that we do have water available to the refrigerator. That typically will involve pulling the refrigerator forward so that you can access the back of it and locate the main shut-off valve for the water line to the refrigerator. So, we should also understand how the ice maker actually works. A traditional ice maker in today's refrigerators is typically the heat release design. Essentially how these work is they will fill with water through a fill valve that is located at the back of your refrigerator. Water will enter the ice maker into the fill cup and fill the mold. Freezing temperatures will turn that water into ice, and a sensor inside the head of that ice maker will detect that the mold is at freezing temperature and initiate a harvest cycle. There's a small motor located inside that control head, and that will rotate this ejector arm to push the ice cubes out. Now, at the same time, a heater on the bottom is turned on to warm the mold up enough to break the bond between the ice and the mold. Once that bond is broken, that ejector arm will push the cubes out and dump them into a bin. The last portion of that cycle, the ice maker control will turn on the water valve again for about 7 to 9 seconds to fill the mold to begin the cycle all over again. Now, the first step in our diagnosis will be to determine whether or not there is actually ice cubes in the mold. If there are no ice cubes in the mold, we should suspect that something did not turn on the water valve, either a defective water valve or possibly a defective control that sends power to that water valve. We'll begin by checking out the water valve. Now, the first step in determining whether our water valve is working properly or not is to check our water supply. We'll begin by pulling the refrigerator forward enough that we can access the back of it. We'll locate the manual shutoff valve and turn off the water supply. We'll then disconnect the inlet to the water valve and then turn our manual valve on to verify that we do actually have water pressure at the valve. If we're satisfied that that is proper, we'll then look at the outlet tubing that goes to the ice maker. Most water valves on refrigerators, if they're a dual or triple or quadruple valve, the 1/4-inch tubing will be the one that runs to the ice maker. And you can typically just follow that tubing up the back of the refrigerator and it will enter the back of the cabinet where the ice maker is located. So we'll check that tubing to make sure that it's not restricted or frozen. We simply disconnect that tubing and then we can blow through it, and if air will pass through the tube, we can assume that the tubing is fine. Now, the other thing that we should check in regards to the water valve is if your refrigerator has a filter on it, it may be restricted or plugged. So if it has a dispenser, simply try your dispenser and see what the water flow is like. And if it's very low or none at all, you would suspect that you have a bad filter and we'll need to change that. Now, if we've determined that we have no restrictions in our water line and we do have water pressure, our next step will be to check the continuity of the solenoid on that valve that is associated with the ice maker. So locate that solenoid, and then using a multimeter, we'll check for continuity across those two terminals. If we verify that we have continuity, we know that that portion of the valve is okay. There is still a possibility that we have a mechanical defect inside of the valve, and the only way to really determine that is to have water inlet and outlet to it and then apply power to it either with a test cord or using the ice maker control itself. We'll demonstrate using a test cord to check that valve. So we've attached a test cord to this valve. Make sure that we use insulated terminal ends on your test cord. And normally the valve would still be connected to the refrigerator with our inlet water supply coming into it and tubing coming out going to the ice maker. We'll put it into a live outlet and water should flow through that valve. If it does not, we know that we have a mechanical defect within the valve. Now, if you don't have access to a test cord to do a live check on that valve, if your model has two solenoids on it, one for the water dispenser and one for the ice maker, you could reverse those two harnesses, connect the one that would go to the dispenser solenoid onto the ice maker solenoid, then activate the water dispenser at the front of the refrigerator, and that should turn on the water valve for the ice maker and water should flow. If it does not, again, we would suspect an internal defect in that water valve. I hope we've helped you with your repair. Let us know what you think by hitting the thumbs up button below and click on subscribe so you never miss a new video.